In the teaching series, you talked about how all spiritual teachings ultimately come to this place of surrender.
Yeah.
The parts of us that don't want to surrender can often be quite hidden, it seems. So consciously, we surrender everything we know, but then the parts that don't surrender, they're hiding somewhere.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So my question is, how do we get those hiding places to come forward and surrender? I mean, it's one thing you can hear that teaching, think, okay, I mean, I basically understand. I mean, I know what it means to get on my knees. I know what it means to throw myself down on the ground. But yet, the parts in me that won't surrender, they're not obvious.
Right. There may be nothing you can do about it. This is the thing that people avoid the most, right? Give me something. Give me a teaching. Give me some hope. Of course, in people, there are things inside of them that are totally unconscious, ways of holding and patterns of holding that they don't have any access to. Maybe you don't have access to it. Period. End of story. That's it. You will have access to it at the exact moment that you really are meant to have access to it.
I would like to accelerate that moment.
Yes, you would, but perhaps there's some things that you can't. Apparently it's that way. We may not like it, right? We may not like that. People may not like me to say that. But let's look at our lives, right? Not philosophy or teaching or what we choose to tell ourselves. At least in my life, I can certainly look and see there were moments where it just apparently I did not have the capacity yet. It just wasn't there. I have no idea what I could have done to bring the capacity there, to have the capacity, right? Because there's various moments in my life that I couldn't even have heard somebody who told me how to have the capacity. I had my own teacher tell me certain things literally hundreds of times over the years. And after 10 years, oh, now I get it. Now I understand it. Now it got in. How was I going to force it in 10 years before? Could I have forced it in? It doesn't appear as though. So this may not be sort of empowering spiritual teachings, but everything has its time. Everything has its place. The ego is not in control of what's happening. Life is in control of what's happening. And to continue to insist that we are, or that something can somehow empower us to all at once, dive into ourselves and see anything and everything we need to see to awaken, is actually working at odds with people's experience. Just like you're telling me, it seems like there must be some unconscious forces that I don't even know are there. Even though I really want to know that are there, even though I really work to see if they are there, they seem inaccessible to me. And what I'm saying is, do we need to continually deny our experience? Do we need to push that away? Is it necessary that we keep saying, yes, but I want to, but I must? I'm sure somebody can tell me something I can do. When the years go by and the decades go on, and our experience tells us often, no, not until it's time. Everything happens in its time. You're not in control. This isn't something we want, though, is it? It's not something our mind wants. We want only the news that we like to hear. Mostly we want to hear things that empower our sense of control. And we radically push away anything that does not empower our sense of control. I say this to people all the time. When you can start to accept what you see as true, you see? Not what I say, but your experience. As soon as you can ingest your own experience, what you've seen for yourself, what you yourself have been living, when you can take it into yourself instead of pushing it away, that's when everything starts to change. So many times someone has come to me and says, I can't do anything about this, this part of my whatever, delusional, apparatus, this part of my personality. They'll say, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And so often I say, well, let's go back. You just told me there's nothing you can do. Is it true? Has anything worked so far? No, nothing's worked so far. Can you find anything to do? Can you see anything to do? And sometimes they'll tell me, no, in all honesty, I can't see anything to do. And so I'll say, what happened if you actually ingested your experience, which is telling you there's nothing I can do? What if you took it in instead of trying to push it away? And so often when they take it in, oh, there's nothing I can do. Oh. Not just conceptually, right? Not as some sort of spiritual bypass, not as some teaching, there's nothing you can do, and then you hear it in your mind and you go blissfully off into your own ignorance. I mean, really allowing it into your body. There's nothing I can do. And what's it like to let that in without any resistance? Because when you do, it starts to change everything. We're not often told that sometimes some of the things that we see and we experience for ourselves that we're pushing away are actually the most transformative insights we need to have. Who would suspect, seeing that there's nothing I can do, is going to be transformative? We're not taught that. We're taught avoid that piece of knowledge at all cost. Even if it's part of your experience, year after year after year, decade after decade, even if you keep experiencing the same thing, avoid it. Don't let it in. Push it away. You see what I mean? But then you allow it in. It's not, we're all junkies, right? Really, we're all just junkies.
I believe you, Adya.
Yeah, we're all junkies. I've been a junkie. We're all junkies. And it's the same dynamics. It's the alcoholic that realizes there's nothing I can do. That's the beginning of the sobering up, right? As long as that person's sitting there going, I can do this. I'm in control. I can find a way beyond this. It's like, no. And then they call it bottoming out, right? Person bottoms out. Bottoming out is nothing more than coming totally out of denial. There's nothing I can do, and look where I am. We don't need to know so much what to do. We need to have a mirror in front of us. We need to be able to see what we see. If that alcoholic sees, or that drug addict sees, there's nothing I can do. I am powerless to stop this. Only then do they start to see themselves in a clearer light, right? Only then can they say, oh, wow. There's a transformation that starts to happen that is not contrived. It's not practiced. It's not technique-oriented, right? So to me, spirituality is almost a willingness to fall flat on your face. That's why I tell my students all the time, although they, put me up on a pedestal and think I figured something wonderful out, but I tell them all the time, my path was the path of failure. Everything I tried failed. It doesn't mean that the trying didn't play an important role. The trying did play a role. The efforting did play a role. The struggle did play a role. But it played a role because it got me to the end of that role. I danced that dance totally out until it was extinguished. But it failed. I failed at meditating well. I failed at figuring out the truth. Everything I ever used to spiritually succeed ultimately failed. But at the moment of failure, that's when everything opens up. We know that, right? This isn't sacred knowledge. Almost everybody that would listen to this knows this. They've experienced it in their lives. They've seen moments like this. But it's not something we want to know because it's not convenient.
You suggested to people that we ask this question, what do I know for sure? What do I know for certain?
Yeah.
And I would ask that question to you. Is there anything you know for certain?
Only that I am. That's it. One thing. So in many senses, I'm the dumbest person on the planet. Literally. Everything else to me is in a state of flux. It's in a state of uncertainty. Everything else we just dream that we know. I don't know what should happen. I don't know if, we're evolving or de-evolving. I don't know if, I don't know any of that. But the thing is, I know that I don't know. And quite contrary to the way that people would think, the experience of that hasn't disempowered me and left me to sit in a cave in the Himalayas or sit on my couch and go, oh, well, there's nothing for me to do because I don't know anything. Quite the contrary. Life has a part to play itself through me. And so I play that part. I'm in total union with the part it plays. Moment to moment, the part changes all the time, right? But that's what I'm in union with. I'm no longer arguing with life. It gets to play its part through me. But now it gets to play its part with agreement instead of disagreement. And it seems any of us, me, you, anyone, when we're in the deepest state of agreement, that the part life plays through us is a part that's much more whole. It's actually much more satisfying. It's literally everything we ever wanted, even though it doesn't look like anything we ever wanted. So, all this kind of runs into very strange paradoxes.